Hello and welcome to a new episode of Breaking Boundaries with Naluka. Thank you so much for joining me, whether you are new to my channel or whether you are coming back here. It is great to see you again. So in this video, I want to talk about the mindset change you need to have to become a digital nomad. Now, I had this moment the other day when I was at the beach and I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, it has been over 12 months ago since I made this change to work remotely and essentially see if it's possible to work from anywhere and still have a career and still make money at the same time. And I was thinking back to before I initially took my sabbatical from my job, the mindset I was in and the mindset blocks I had to overcome in order to make this change. And I know a lot of people watching this now, watching this video, coming to my channel, are very interested, and I get this question all the time, like, how did you do it? And often people aren't necessarily talking just about the logistics of how you do it. And if you're interested in that, I can talk about that in another video because that's really big. But actually the mindset and how do you get over that fear, that sense of, do I really have it in me to do this, that self-belief? How do you get over that? And in this video, I want to talk about 5 realizations or aspects that I think you need to have if you want to be able to make a change. And this video is really around that. It's about, okay, you're in this place now, you want to go to this place. What are the 5 things you need to do mindset-wise and attitude-wise and behavior-wise in order to make that change? Because you don't need to hear it from me. Many people will say it starts in the mind, and you know, we all have these dreams, but really for your dreams to become a reality, you need to have the right mindset and you need to put the right things in place. So it's both a mindset thing and a practical logistic thing. But in this video, I want to talk about what you can do in order to make change and in order to ultimately take your laptop and work remotely and try and experiment. And then if you like it, continue with this incredible lifestyle. So the first tip I have is to take time to make the decision, but when you do make the decision, act fast. So what I mean by that is I did not just stop my corporate job and think, okay, you know, in 2 weeks time, I want to take my laptop, work abroad and see if it's possible to be a digital nomad. No, I took a lot of thinking time before I made this decision. And actually, there was always this inner voice in me that was like, I just need to do something. I just need to adventure. I just need to do something else. I just need to get out of London and see the world. But I also really didn't want to give up my career. And I am someone, and maybe some of you watching this now will find that your career is something that you don't want to give up. And I think historically, we've had to make a choice between just take some time off work and take a gap year and go traveling, or, you know, do your office job and yes, maybe work from home sometimes. But actually what I wanted to see was, can you combine both? And so this first tip I have is take the time to reflect, take the time to really think, is this what you want to do? Because I think sometimes we think something is what we want to do and then we actually haven't given it enough thought. On the other hand, there is a danger of giving it too much thought and never acting. And that's why this first tip is take the time to make the decision. Take the time to weigh up the pros and cons. Take the time to think about how this might impact other areas of your life. Take the time to think about what you might do when you work remotely. Are you going to stay in your same job? Are you going to do something else, etc.? Take the time. But when you then have that moment where you're like, yes, I am absolutely going to do it, act fast. Don't sit on it. And I see this all the time. People who have really wanted to do this for a while and they've done the thinking, but then they never act. When you've done the thinking and you're like, yeah, this is really what I want to do and I've worked it out and I've seen the pros and cons and I think I can do this, just act. Because if you don't act, you won't do it. And then you'll be thinking, oh, I wish I had done that thing that I always wanted to do. And that's not what we want. So that's the first one. Take the time to make the decision, but when you do make the decision, act fast. Number 2, find your support network. I cannot stress this enough. Making this change in your career, in your lifestyle, requires you to find a network of people who are like-minded. It requires you to find those people who also share a similar view, who want to challenge the status quo, who want to combine career and travel, whatever it might be. Find those people. And honestly, I think I would have had a much harder time had I not found this new support network. And how can you find them? You can find them through LinkedIn, you can find them through Nomad and Expat and remote worker groups and online communities. You can find them through word of mouth, speaking to someone, and then they might say, oh, I'll put you in touch with this person. But that can really help your mindset, because I think when you feel like you're doing it alone and you're the black sheep, that's really, really difficult. But when you then find people who are also singing that chorus and are also doing the same, that can help you make a change, because you're like, hey, that person made a change and now I want to make a change. So find that new support network. Number 3, be ready for the hard times and expect that they will come. I think sometimes we're afraid to make a change because we don't want to admit that with that change there's going to be hard times, and we already are aware of the hard times we're in now. So we already experience it, and it's like, okay, I'm going to change my life, but I don't know what those hard times in the future are going to look like. Because, by the way, no life is simple and perfect, and as a digital nomad there are downsides as well as upsides. But I think sometimes that fear of the unknown and that fear of, I know there's going to be bad things, but at least now the bad things I'm experiencing and I know it, that fear of the unknown, both the unknown of the positives and the unknown of the negatives, can really hold people back. So I would say another mindset shift is to be ready for the hard times. And when you make this decision, say to yourself, I know it's not going to be easy. And I expect that there's going to be downsides as well. And when you accept that, and when you know it's going to come, and you realize you're not just pursuing this dream and it's going to be happy every single day, that can really help you move forwards as well and make the change, because you're ready for it and you're less scared of that unknown. Number 4, this one really applies to all areas of life. Don't worry about what others think. No one really cares. Everyone is in their own bubble. And if they do care, and if they look down on you, do you even want that person in your life? Do you even care about that person's opinion if they're like that, right? I think another thing that stops people making this change or really holds people back, and I could feel it with myself, like it took a lot to make this change over a year ago now. It's a sense of, what will people think? You know, I've established myself in a certain way, people see me in a certain way, I'm now going to challenge that way, and that is scary. And that fear of what people might think is, I think, very dangerous. I mean, it's good on one hand, it does have its pros, but it can be really bad on the other hand, because you end up putting people's opinions and perspectives of you above what you truly want to do inside. And so write down on a piece of paper, my reality and what I want to do in my life is more important than what other people think of me. And that can also be super powerful to making a change. And the 5th piece of insight or advice I would give is to remain open-minded. When you change your life in this way, you have to remain open-minded. Someone asked me the other day, do you think you will ever go back to, a corporate job, I think she said. And I said, I don't know. I am very open-minded. And I think, I'm not going to come on here and say, oh, this is for me, this is for my whole life now. I'm very open-minded to the future opportunities. I'm very aware that life circumstances change, we change as individuals. And so if you're sat there thinking, I really want to work from anywhere, and I want to have a remote job, or I want to work for myself and have the autonomy to work for myself and live and work where I want, but I'm worried that if I do that, there's no going back. No, that's definitely not the case. Your career or your experience today will always be there. And if you want to go back, you can go back. And I think a better attitude is, you know what, I'm going to try this thing and I'm open-minded to what happens, to how I find it, and to what follows. And again, that takes the pressure off. It becomes less of a big deal as to, I'm making this massive life decision and everything is going to change and nothing is ever going to be the same again. But you're just like, you know what, I want to try this thing and let's see what happens. Honestly, when I took my sabbatical and I jumped on a one-way ticket plane to Valencia, I was so open-minded. I did not go into it saying, I'm going to be a digital nomad for life now, or I'm going to work in 5 cities in the next year, which by the way happened, but that wasn't initially my plan. I just went in open-minded. I just wanted to experiment and explore. And I think that mindset is a really powerful mindset to making a change, because you take the pressure off yourself and it becomes fun and it becomes playful and it becomes an experiment. And that's where you find most joy. So those are my 5 tips in terms of how do you make that change from wherever you are now to becoming a remote worker or a digital nomad. And how do you approach it from a mindset, attitude, and I suppose, approach in terms of what you need to do in terms of actually making that change. So number 1, take the time to think, reflect, and make the decision. But when you do make the decision, act fast. Number 2, find your new support network. Find like-minded people. Number 3, be ready for the hard times and expect that they will come. Number 4, don't worry about what other people think. No one really cares. And number 5, remain open-minded. Don't make this into some massive thing that is greater than it is. Remain open-minded, try it and see what follows. I hope that was helpful, and thank you for listening.